Mary, could you tell us a bit about the use of DetectedX in breast imaging?
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you a few thoughts about DetectedX and breast imaging, which is obviously my area of passion or interest. So, DetectedX is really a tool that can improve the quality of medical imaging diagnosis in breast disease. For that reason, I'm very attached to it. The platform itself is actually like an online PACS system with all the usual PACS tech tools, etc., and that allow us normally to manipulate images, see things as we might want to. But it's also coupled with an interactive ability to capture information, the interaction that the user has with the platform. So it's these two combined um, features that allow it to be used for learners, for teachers, for management of to do with breast imaging.
And what's available for an individual learner? And how would you, I guess, characterize what a learner is?
Well, the learner can actually access the platform to use the teaching material that's available there. The learner might be a trainee radiologist. They may be a very experienced breast radiologist. They could be, for example, a manager. Right? The idea is that there's a lot of pre-prepared material available on the platform, and it covers a wide range of different imaging modalities and techniques. And we create modules where people can interact with, say, a self-assessment module or an interesting case or quiz or a series of cases that illustrate a particular feature of breast disease. So there's lots of difficult or different components of modules, right? But there are also lots of levels of difficulty. So we can tailor it to somebody as a learner who's a junior member of the team or a more senior member of the team. When they access the module content, it may be that they're going to look at interesting cases. It may be that they want to look at 2D screening test sets. You could look at a series of cases that illustrate a particular disease. And the idea is that once you've looked at these, you get a score to see how you've performed. And that allows you to compare yourself with other people who've done the test and see what standard your work is. It's a good tool for CPD. It's a great tool to help you learn. It's also a great tool for managers, for example, for onboarding staff to see how new staff might compare with the standards that they expect. It's also a good way of just monitoring the performance of people in a group. So there's lots of different ways of using that feedback information. We also have a feature actually where the AI scientists working within DetectedX are able to tailor test sets to an individual user by seeing what their interactions are and preparing a test set that would identify features that we know they're weak at. And that will help them improve their performance. So lots of different ways for different users to interact with the platform.
So the question of who is it specifically for is almost irrelevant because there's different difficulty levels for different users, and depending on what score the individual gets, the AI will recommend what modules to do after.
Yes, that's right. We actually have some of the information packaged together as well. So if a beginner, for example, comes onto the platform, they could use a structured package of learning that might include some lectures, some basic testing modules, and then progress to the more difficult level, an intermediate level, and a more advanced level in a structured format. So there's also that progressive learning package available too.
And so you mentioned there's different modules essentially. So I know there's lecture modules that people can watch, and you also mentioned self-assessment modules and quizzes. What's the difference between those two?
Well, in both cases, you're testing yourself out, right? But with a self-assessment module, it may be, for example, that we're using it for, say, a screening module where there are a set of cases, maybe 30 or 60 cases, that are screening mammograms. And a radiologist can go through and see whether they can detect cancer by simply saying cancer, yes, no, on each case. And that gives them a score at the end to see whether their sensitivity and specificity as they'd hoped to be, right? And compared with other users. And the big advantage, of course, is that we have a cancer-enriched test set, for example. the user, once they've seen their score, can go back and review each individual case with the truths marked, and all cases of pathology truth are proven. So this allows people to review and learn from that review process.
Fantastic. So it seems like there's a lot for the learner. Now, shifting gears towards the teachers and educators, how would they use the platform?
Well, all teachers like to use their own teaching material. We're all fond of what we think is a good case or a good teaching point. So what the platform allows is for teachers to upload their own material. They can upload their lectures, they can upload test cases, a series of cases, and then allow their users or their students to participate in an online experience by either, for example, reviewing the cases during a lecture and interacting, for example, with a poll on whether or not you see a particular feature on a particular case. Right? And then you could see what the group as a whole are actually thinking about the material. Another way of doing it with teachers is to actually allow people to have access before a lecture or before a tutorial. And that way people can prepare themselves and say, well, this is my thought about the case. And then they can review the cases together. And when you're in a webinar style format, of course, it allows you for questions and answers on those cases. The other facility that the platform offers is that people can actually have a questionnaire at the end of a test set. They can test people out before and after, ask questions about the subject, or they can ask questions for feedback, like how did you find this test set? Was it helpful, etc., etc.? Was the lecture a good way of learning? So there are different aspects to the teaching facet.
So if I was to ask, what would be the advantages of, the typical example of a teacher wanting to show a set of X-rays or a set of images was to throw it on a PowerPoint and call it a day. What are some of the advantages of using the DetectedX platform with the students over just showing them the images?
Well, as you know, of course, in real world, we don't look at images just as one still small portion of an image. We interact with that image a lot more. We might want to zoom, particularly in breastwork where things are very small, like microcalcifications would be very fine, and you would need to zoom an image to see them properly. So this fact that you can roam around an image, you can zoom an image, you can change the window levels, etc., makes it much more interactive. It allows the student to be able to look at the case in a real way, in the way that you would in the real world, and respond to the teacher's questions in an instant way. And of course, the other big feature is that everybody can do that on their own laptop in their own personal environment. So of course, that gives everybody the ability to move around an image without, of course, the other person being involved in that particular process. It gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, so it's almost prepares them more for what's out there clinically if they can actually use the same tools that radiologists use in their clinic rather than just having the image there just to see what they can see.
Correct, yes, because a PowerPoint's useful to demonstrate a particular feature, let's say. You may be wanting to point out the margins of a lesion or the shape of a lesion or something like this. So a captured image on a PowerPoint is great, but it's not the real world to have it presented to you in that format.
Particularly when you're looking at 3D images. I know trying to display a CT to a class is a nightmare unless you have the system where you can easily scroll through the images, which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of 3D imaging in breastwork, digital breast tomosynthesis, and you have the ability there to scroll through and stop to check various levels that might interest you. So yes, it's a great way of interacting with images.
I see. Now, apart from, so we talked about the students look at it, the learner, the teacher's view. What other use cases are there for DetectedX?
Well, the other thing that we've found that researchers like is the ability to be able to question people online, right? So to be in a distant way, I suppose you'd say. People can review a set of images, be it a small set, large set, and give feedback on what researchers might be interested in around the image quality, around image diagnosis, other features. So research is a big area. And of course, the other feature with that, of course, is that research can be offered to a broad scope of people. You don't have to bring the people to you. You can send the the data that you want assessed out to the reviewers. So it's yeah, that is a really big feature, I think. And of course, collecting all this interactive information in the background is a major feature of the DetectedX platform. It's not just the display, it's the interaction with the images that matters.
Yeah, so which is good because if you were to conduct research, you mentioned earlier that anyone can access it on their own computer, and with a simple internet connection, they can access that. And there are a lot of features in the background where it allows the teacher or the user to see the interaction of their students with the modules or with the research. So all of that
Yes.
nitty-gritty data is available if requested for.
That's right. I think, that's also coming back to what we were talking about early on about management. It's a feature where managers can see what's happening there. They can see whether their staff are participating in ongoing CPD exercises, are, you know, doing things well, as I say, and they can get that feedback as a manager as well, just because of all the data that's captured in the background.
Absolutely. So to close things off, I always like to ask this question. What's your favorite feature of the platform?
Well, I'd say that it's the availability. It's the fact that it's so versatile that we can put simple material, teaching material, advanced teaching material. Anybody can access it. Teachers can use it, learners can use it, researchers can use it, managers can use it. It's very versatile, right? And yeah, it offers a great opportunity for people to improve the quality of their work.
I very much agree. Perfect. Thanks so much for your time, Mary.
Thank you, Sahand.